Have you ever noticed that road signs in the US look different from the ones in other countries? Most of the world uses the same kind of signs, but as usual, America does things a little differently. Instead of symbols, they use a lot of text. And in this video, I'll tell you why that is. And no, I'm sorry, I know a lot of people right now will want the answer to be just, haha, America dumb, but that's not it. As usual, it comes down to history and culture. Or actually, maybe it's a part of it. They don't seem to be able to read an IKEA manual. Americans really like things written out. But for an actual answer, we need to go back a long time. Before cars were common, a time when there weren't many road signs at all. At the time, people just knew where they were going, and roads weren't as organized as they are now. The rules were mostly just try not to kill anyone. But when more and more people started driving in the early 1900s, it became clear that signs were needed to keep roads safe. The US was a bit ahead in the driving department with the whole mass production of the Model T. So in 1927, they made an attempt to standardize things, which led to the first national manual on road signs. But there was a problem. Different organizations had their own ideas, leading to multiple competing standards. It wasn't until 1935 that a unified system emerged with the first MUTCD, or Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, which set the rules for how American road signs should look. While the US was figuring out its own system, the rest of the world was working on an international standard. After World War II, global travel became more common, and countries realized that it would be a lot safer if everyone used the same signs, especially in places like Europe, where you can drive through 12 countries in a single day. The United Nations got involved and in 1968 created the Vienna Convention on road signs and signals, which standardized road signs across dozens of countries, which is why they are mostly the same from Spain to Saudi Arabia. But the US, they refuse to sign. The US generally doesn't follow what other countries do unless there's a really good reason. Also, each state has some control over its own roads, so making big changes would be complicated. And third, the people in the US were already used to their signs, and the people really didn't like the thought of Europe influencing their decisions. Another big reason is money. Changing every road sign in the country would cost a huge amount. It would also take years to finish, and the maps, GPS systems and driving tests would all need to be updated too. Since American signs work well enough, most people don't see a reason to change them. Some people even think they are superior. While researching this, I found an amazing answer on the world's worst website, Quora. The Egyptians used to use symbols called hieroglyphs in their writing, and that was a primitive way of writing. As humans advanced, they learned to make alphabets, and using those alphabets, they would make words to communicate with the others. This was advancement indeed. Since it was no more playing guess, what if someone couldn't draw this English just fuck? The Americans today are a little advanced and will not want to be pushed back into the primitive drawing of images to convey their intent. Studies have shown that the human brain does not read the whole line over and over again if it knows what is coming next. So writing and drawing have no difference in comprehension whatsoever at high speeds. Okay, let me do a little test. Boom! What was that? No idea. Maybe you need to worry about it, maybe not. Boom! Clearly no motorcycles allowed. Okay, maybe not that clear, but you get the idea. Every kid knows that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Also, a word isn't worth anything if you don't know the language. But this guy might not be as dumb as you think. In the 1970s, there was an attempt to introduce more symbol-based signs, but it completely backfired. Drivers had no idea what the new signs meant, and the government had to add text underneath them just to clarify. By 1978, the experiment was quietly abandoned and the US stuck with its text-heavy approach. But there's another, more cultural reason behind America's resistance to pictorial signs. Americans seem to just really love written instructions. Think about it. Other countries rely on pictograms, whether it's for emergency exits, appliances, or even IKEA furniture. The idea of looking at a simple image and just figuring it out is very un-American. A warning sign with a picture of a deer, well, that could mean anything. Better add a sign just to clarify. Today, almost all countries use one of these two systems. A lot of American, both South and North, use US-style signs, even if they have signed the Vienna Convention. And some use a mix of the two. The American rectangle warning signs are common in a lot of countries, but it's rarely any text in them. And I can see why. A rectangle is double the space to have a large picture in. I can't really say that one system is obviously better than the other, but I think it's interesting that there is a difference. I know everyone wanted the answer to be just America dumb, but you know,